the interventionist statements made by America and the officials of the Zionist regime were absolutely clear, with a singular objective in mind. A fundamental operation is being carried out, and that is the deliberate creation of violence, chaos, and instability within our country, leading to a greater number of our people being killed and losing their precious lives.
Iranian authorities say they have uncovered a cache of U.S.-manufactured weapons and explosives allegedly linked to what they describe as organized terror cells operating amid the country's ongoing nationwide protests as tensions continue to rise between Tehran, Washington, and Israel. According to Iran's intelligence ministry, security forces raided multiple residential properties across several provinces and seized firearms, ammunition, improvised explosive device components, and large quantities of explosives. Officials claimed the materials were concealed in homes connected to suspected operatives accused of attempting to inflame violence during the protests that erupted late last year. State media reported that more than 200 kilograms of explosives were recovered in total, alongside drone assembly equipment and surveillance tools. The ministry said some of the weapons were smuggled into the country using a foreign-registered truck, adding that 273 firearms were recovered in one operation. Authorities also claimed that several of those detained were in contact with foreign intelligence services, including alleged links to Israel's Mossad. In one reported incident, Iranian forces said they neutralized a 4-member armed group and seized additional weapons and explosive materials. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi accused the United States and Israel of orchestrating efforts to destabilize Iran, framing the weapons seizure as proof of external interference. Araghchi also said that while the Islamic Republic allows public dissent, it draws a clear line when it comes to what it considers acts of terrorism. Speaking in an interview with Al Jazeera on Tuesday, Araghchi asserted that Iranian authorities differentiate between ordinary protesters and what he described as violent elements operating with foreign backing. He claimed that peaceful demonstrators are met with restraint and engagement, saying the government listens to public grievances with patience and calm. However, he stressed that Tehran's response is uncompromising toward groups it labels as terrorist organizations.
The goal was to increase the number of fatalities at the protest scene. Why? Because President Trump, the American president, had stated that if
people are killed, we will come and intervene.
This statement itself is a clear intervention in the domestic affairs of other nations.
So we have obtained recorded audio files of messages that was sent from outside the country, specifically addressed to these terrorist operatives, stating that you are to be found among the protesters. Open fire. If you can shoot the police, then shoot the police. If you can't, then shoot the ordinary people. If you can't, then shoot that girl, that boy who is standing right in front of you, shoot them.
Meanwhile, Iran's parliamentary speaker joined the rally and claimed that since the end of the 12-day conflict, Iran's adversaries have not abandoned their agenda of weakening the country. He accused them of seeking an Iran that is neither strong nor independent, arguing that after failing to achieve their goals through direct confrontation, they shifted to what he described as a terrorist war aimed at destabilizing the nation from within.
Their aim is for Iran not to be strong, not to be independent. He initiated the fourth war, launching the objective he sought in the second phase of that 12-day conflict as a terrorist war. And then he observed the nation standing firm against this terrorist war. He officially endorsed their stance and sought to continue his own military operations, which were in their second phase. However, this time he was unable to transition from a civil conflict into a full-fledged military war and make any significant headway.
Speaking to Iranian media, Arakchi also claimed that investigators possessed audio recordings of voices from abroad, allegedly directing protesters on the ground. He warned that such actions were aimed at turning civil unrest into armed confrontation, potentially laying the groundwork for foreign military intervention. Arakchi also held a phone call with Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mohammad Ishaq Dar, during which the two discussed Iran's internal situation and broader regional developments. Pakistan, according to official statements, emphasized the need for restraint and dialogue, while its Ministry of Information and Broadcasting rejected social media claims suggesting Pakistani territory could be used as a staging ground for a U.S. strike on Iran. Iranian officials doubled down on their accusations following large pro-government rallies in Tehran, where President Masoud Pezeshkian and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei addressed crowds and denounced what they described as a U.S.-Israeli plot to undermine the Islamic Republic. State television portrayed the demonstrations as a show of national unity against foreign-backed unrest. The disclosures come amid escalating pressure from Washington. U.S. President Donald Trump recently announced a 25% tariff on countries trading with Iran, intensifying economic sanctions as protests driven by inflation, currency depreciation, and economic hardship continue. Trump has also warned Tehran against using force against protesters, saying the United States was locked and loaded for potential military action. His comments echoed earlier warnings issued after the June 2025 12-day conflict, when U.S.-backed Israeli strikes targeted Iranian nuclear facilities. Human rights organizations, including the U.S.-based Human Rights Activists News Agency, say more than 600 people have been killed since the protests began, a figure that cannot be independently verified due to internet restrictions imposed by Iranian authorities. Tehran has not released official casualty numbers, insisting instead that foreign-backed groups are exploiting legitimate grievances to provoke chaos and violence. As the unrest continues, analysts warn that the competing narratives, Iran's claims of foreign sabotage versus international concerns over repression, risk deepening regional instability. With Tehran vowing it is prepared for any military confrontation and Washington signaling readiness to escalate pressure, the situation remains volatile, with little sign of de-escalation in the near term.